Hi, Erin.
Hey, Sydney.
So this is a great summer because I get to see you like in 3 different places. Mm-hmm. First we started in Santa Barbara. Mm-hmm. Now here we are in Brideghampton, Long Island. And next week we'll be in
La Jolla,
San Diego. And so it's great because I think it's been multiple decades that we've known each other.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we should give away our age, but yes,
a long
time.
Yeah. So, but it's great playing with you, and I'm going to use this opportunity to ask you about this beautiful fiddle violin that you're holding, mm-hmm. And just tell me stuff.
Tell you stuff.
Stuff, please.
Well, it's a Nicolò Gagliano from 1732. And I've had it for about 16 years.
16 years?
16,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. When I joined the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, now the Bowers program, I was playing with all these people who had Strads and Guadagninis, and I had a decent violin, but nothing that sort of matched up to it. And my grandmother passed away, and she left my mom a little bit of money, and so my mom was like, well, do you want help with like a down payment for an apartment, or do you want a violin? And I was like, the apartment, obviously. And she's like, no.
Really?
Violin. Yes.
Really?
So I did a search, went through every shop in New York, and had a bunch of instruments sent to me from Boston and Albuquerque and Chicago, and then I went to Philly, and I went to Menig, which doesn't exist anymore. Right. And they had maybe 10 violins set up, a lot of vioms, a couple Gaglianos, a couple of other things, and it was near the end of my search. I had tried, 70 violins.
70?
Probably, yeah.
Nice.
It was a lot. And the second I played this, I knew it was mine. There's
really?
There's no comparison to anything I had. But I did my due diligence, and I took sort of my top 3 choices, and I was lucky enough to get into Alice Tully when it was empty, and some of my colleagues came, and I played and they played, and we heard it, and it was just immediately apparent that this was the violin for me.
That's great. So what is like the thing about this violin that's like,
well, like
Erin.
Yeah, I mean, you know me well enough. I'm a little impatient. I don't like to work for things.
I won't, no comment.
Thank you. And so it does exactly what I want when I want it to do it. So it's great. It has an immediate response. Mm-hmm. It's really powerful. It can be very powerful. And in the soft sub, it has this beautiful dolce color. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like I'm the limit of this violin. And it was really interesting because it had been sitting in a closet for 10 years before it was donated to a foundation who sold it. And so it really opened up so much even in the first 2 years. And ever since then, I get it adjusted, but it doesn't really need much work to be a great violin. So
do you know, was it a player's instrument before that, or?
So it was, there was a violinist in the National Symphony, and he was in the National Symphony for decades. He was also a composer, and he passed away, and his widow kept it for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then she donated it. But it was interesting because maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I was teaching a student who was going to a competition, and they had to learn this one piece. And it was a piece by the guy who had this violin.
Oh, you're kidding.
So it was kind of crazy because I was thinking he composed this piece using this exact instrument. So it was this weird sort of, situation. Wow. But it was pretty cool. So I never met the man. I met his widow. She came to a recital I did in Baltimore, maybe in 2007 or 2008. But I think she's passed away since then.
Did she comment on the violin?
I think that she was actually quite emotional seeing it, because she hadn't seen anyone play it since her husband had passed away. So it was a pretty cool thing, because oftentimes when you sell or buy instruments, you don't know really much about, unless it's someone really famous like Chrysler, Heifetz or something, then you would know things about their instrument. But for something like this, I was really fortunate to be able to know more about the history of it.
Yeah, it's a real shame, because it would be nice to know kind of even the lineage directly from the day it was made.
Right, if you had like a chart with everyone's name and the dates they owned it and where they played, it'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
I think possibly they try to hide that so that you don't know who paid what for it and sold it for what.
Yes.
Yeah, but so in 16 years, have you played any other violins? And
I am a creature of habit, and so I've tried other people's violins. I went to a violin shop once, actually with our friend Arnaud. This was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and we were trying 3 Del Jesus and 1 Strad, and Arnaud at the time I think had a Viome, and then this, and we did blind tests, and my husband Osmo was there. And so Arnaud played all of them, I played all of them, and mine came out pretty good in that. I think it was like number 2 or 3. But I think, it just depends on who's playing it. So someone else playing this wouldn't, sound anything like what I do playing this. But for me, I think that I have learned so much about color and creating color because this can do everything, basically. So it's my fault if it sounds bad.
No, I think it's such a wonderful thing when the player and the instrument are just so integrated that it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to have this violin and it's mine, and I don't need to give it back or worrying about finding the next violin to play on. I've been offered some things over the years, but I have no interest in it because I like having this violin that it just feels like it's a part of me.
Right.
So I own another modern instrument, a Ryan Soltis, which I love, and it's a great modern fiddle. But this is the one that I perform on almost always.
Did you commission that violin?
I did. I commissioned it, and I got it about 5 or 6 years ago.
And did you say make it like this?
I didn't. No, I trusted him. He has the way that he makes them, and it's so pretty, and it's also antique so beautifully. But what I did this year is that I actually commissioned an electric violin that's not electric. It has no electronics in it, but it's the model of an electric violin, and it's much smaller. It's electric blue colored, and I had them do the measurements of my violin. So it has the same string length, and so I leave it in Helsinki, where my husband and I have a place, so that if I'm there, I can practice, and it makes very little sound. But it's exactly the same string length, and so it's a little bit easier for me to come back to this when I've taken a little bit of time off and not having to play on a violin that's completely different if I don't feel like taking this on the plane.
That's interesting. So does it have a body, or is it just like a stick?
It's more like a stick. It has a small body, but it's not. Yeah, it's not super big. But it was funny. He was like, "You want an electric violin without the electronics?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I want."
Give me a piece of without the
Exactly.
So. That's like an 80s commercial, right?
Yeah,
okay, right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jimmy, give me a cheese with nut. Nut?
Now you can have the best part of the pizza without the pizza. Polly-O string cheese.
So does this have like a unique string length? Is it kind of like long, short?
It's a little bit of a smaller violin, which is great because my hands are really small. But I did have Julie Reed-Yaboa make the bridge. Like the strings are a little bit closer because my pads are so little that for me to play fifths and stuff, it's much easier for me. So I've had it just slightly, ever so slightly modified. But it is noticeably smaller for me than the Soltis, and so when I go to that violin, it feels a little bit like a viola to me in terms of like they're always a little bit different sizes, but this is comfortable because of my small hands.
Yeah, and you were telling me about this before, but there's a kind of a unique grain pattern.
Yeah, you can see right here, like this sort of like looks like a watermark or something, and it's more apparent the farther you are. When I'm playing, I can't see so much, but it's kind of beautiful actually. The only problem is I keep nicking up right around here. I do pizzicato and have bad aim. So
but it's interesting because like in concert light, I can kind of see it a little bit more, like in the stage versus in other places.
Yeah.
But what is that? Is that like a water thing from that was soaked up through the tree?
I could make something up, but I have no idea whatsoever.
Oh, I wish you made something up.
I know. Okay, next time.
Great. Do you mind playing a few notes for me?
Sure.
So I can hear it?
Yeah.
Thank you.